Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Hello, welcome to the Skeptic Zone, episode number 434. For the 12th of February 2017, Richard Saunders here with you from Sydney, Australia. What's left of Sydney, Australia after the recent heat waves. Yesterday was ridiculous for many reasons, but particularly for the heat. And the day before and the day before that. And today I think is going to be very warm indeed. Sydney, Australia is a good place to avoid at this time of the year, I think. Yes, record heat across our state. Parts of Sydney have been nudging 47 degrees, I seem to have heard. It's all very silly. Maybe we can all cool down by listening to the Skeptic Zone. Coming up on this week's show, it's the Diet Skeptic. Mandy-Lee Noble, our newest reporter. This week, Mandy-Lee is going to be looking at A2 milk, which you've probably seen around, which is sold as a premium milk. What is A2 milk? Is it better than A1 milk? I wonder if there's an A3 milk. Find out with Mandy-Lee Noble, the Diet Skeptic, at the top of the show. Following that, it's Brew Ha Ha from the Cafe of Australia's Science channel, Australia Science TV. Oh, and a big shout out to my friend Dr. Paul Willis, who is the director of the Royal Institution of Australia. Dr. Paul Willis, once again, and I wish I was with him at the moment, is making his way to the Antarctic for scientific exploration. He has been going down there for quite a few years now, and I wish I could be his sidekick. Maybe I could do some video production. Paul, what do you reckon? He is going to be swanning around with the penguins, so to speak, sailing past icebergs, looking at lots of snow. And I think most of Sydney, probably most of this state of New South Wales and Queensland and everyone else would love to be with Paul Willis at the moment, enjoying the exceptionally cool and crisp weather down at the South Pole. Yes, but I digress. Yes, Brew Ha Ha from Australia Science TV. And this week, Ben Lewis looks at restrictions put on scientists in the US and how they're getting around it. And also honeybirds from Mozambique. Honeybirds from Mozambique. That's Brew Ha Ha this week, coming up a little bit later on in the show. Then we have some news from the Australian Skeptics written by Tim Mendham, and we often bring your attention to articles and information appearing at skeptics.com.au, the website of Australian Skeptics, and of course I am a member of the Committee of Australian Skeptics. Hello, Australian Skeptics. This week we're going to find out why a chiropractic group here in Australia has been distancing itself from the anti-vaccination crowd, and also why researchers are warning of dire effects of herbal remedies. Two very interesting stories a bit later on. Then to round off the show, ghosts. We join the Stranger Things Down Under Facebook group, a very new Facebook group based in Sydney, on their first expedition, outing, to look for ghosts in the historic Rocks area of Sydney. Do we bump into any ghosts? Did any ghosts bump into us? Find out at the end of the show. Now, listeners will remember, I think it was last week or possibly the week before, I was wondering what you would call a group of quacks. The collective noun for a group of quacks. Well, people have been writing in with their suggestions, and I'll give a shout-out to Shaw Lewis all the way over there in Colorado. Says, an echo of quacks. An echo of quacks. That's really good. I love that one. And some other people have thought of that as well. I'm not surprised. It's very clever, and it's very apt, I think. But Shaw says, first, since they can't have gotten their claims from rigorous scientific inquiry, most quackery is just the echo of folk wisdom, magical thinking, and other regurgitations. Second, there is a broadly held, but not thoroughly debunked, myth that a duck's quack doesn't echo. Thank you, Shaw, and thank you to everybody else writing in with your suggestions. Colorado. It's been many years since I've been to Colorado. I went hiking in the Rockies with my good friend Dr. Phil Plate, the bad astronomer. Very memorable. It's interesting being up at that altitude. I didn't have many problems with the altitude, I must say. I was hiking way up in the Rockies, and I think I did okay. Looking forward one day to going back. Well, that's enough for me at the moment. It's time for me to run downstairs, open up the freezer, retrieve the balloon full of ice. Now, those of you who are familiar with the internet might have seen a video circulating lately where somebody fills up a balloon with water, puts that in the freezer, makes a giant sphere of ice, puts the ice in a bowl, and the cats come and have a big cold water supply and a big cold ice sphere to lick. Well, I did that. Last night I filled up a balloon, about halfway full of water, put it in the freezer, and this morning there is a solid, I think it's solid, sphere of ice. So I'm going to run downstairs, take that out of the freezer, put it into a large bowl, and let the cats cool down with their new toy. While I'm doing that, I hope you enjoy the Skeptic Zone. That looks good enough to eat. Or does it? Here's the diet skeptic, Mandy-Lee Noble.
Hello, Skeptic Zone listeners. Mandy-Lee Noble here. Dietitian and skeptic reporting from Brisbane. This week on the Diet Skeptic Report, I will be discussing A2 milk. Is there any evidence to support the claim that A2 milk drinkers can feel the difference? Or is the A2 milk company just using science to get consumers to believe in better? Over the last 2 decades, the range of dairy products available to Australian consumers has grown enormously. In 2003, A2 milk joined the fray, and despite a rocky start, A2 milk now represents 9% of the Australian fresh milk market. More recently, the A2 Milk Company launched its range of infant formulas in Australia, New Zealand and China, which has driven exceptional growth in the A2 Milk Company's product sales. So, what exactly is A2 milk? Well, cows, like humans, have individual genetic differences. One example is the beta-casein protein found in milk. It is coded by a gene that has several slight variations. The 2 most common variations are called A1 and A2. In Australia, regular milk contains roughly half A1 beta-casein and half A2 beta-casein. A2 milk is better described as A2 only milk, as it comes from cows that have been selected to only have the A2 variant of the beta-casein gene, and therefore produce milk that only contains the A2 beta-casein protein. The difference between the A1 and the A2 beta-casein protein is just a single amino acid. The A2 variant is the original form of the gene. It is estimated that the A1 variant first occurred around 5,000 years ago. There is no difference in the taste or nutritional quality of regular milk compared to A2 milk, except that A1 protein may be better for making hard cheeses. This may explain why the A1 gene became prevalent in European herds. So, if A2 only milk is the same nutritionally, how could it be better? The proponents of A2 milk do not claim that A2 only milk provides any additional health benefits. Rather, that the A1 beta-casein found in regular milk could be a factor in health conditions such as type 1 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, autism, schizophrenia, and gastrointestinal conditions. digestion of the A1 beta-casein may more readily produce beta-casomorphin 7, or BCM7 for short. BCM7 and other beta-casomorphins have been shown to have opioid-like activity. Other opiates, such as codeine, slow down the passage of food in the gut and may cause constipation, nausea, and bloating. So, the A1-A2 hypothesis proposes that the BCM7 is biologically active in the human gut, and drinking regular milk provides enough BCM7 to slow down the passage of food through the gut. It also proposes that BCM7 could pass through the gut of an infant or a leaky gut to bind to opioid receptors in the brain. Does the research show that BCM7 is harmful to humans? Studies have detected BCM7 from cow's milk in the gut of adults, the urine of children, and the plasma of formula-fed infants. Similarly, human BCM7 has been found in the plasma of breastfed infants, as breast milk also contains a similar BCM7 peptide. However, there is insufficient evidence to show that BCM7 affects human health. Okay, so is there any evidence that drinking regular milk containing the A1 protein may have caused harm? Some population studies have shown an association between A1 beta-casein and the rates of type 1 diabetes and cardiovascular disease. However, these studies have been criticised for the selection of countries included in the dataset and excluding cheese and yoghurt, especially for France, which has a high intake of cheese and relatively low rates of cardiovascular disease, while rates of type 1 diabetes may also be explained by rates of breastfeeding or vitamin D levels in countries that receive less sunlight. So, why not just conduct a randomised control trial to find out whether there is an effect? Given that regular milk and A2 milk look, smell and taste the same, this would seem the obvious solution. However, to date, there has been no human trial that adequately tests the A1-A2 hypothesis. There has been a small A2 company-funded pilot trial involving just 41 participants. The study found that when given A1-only milk, the participants had softer stools, which is the opposite of what is predicted by the A1-A2 hypothesis. The paper's authors do suggest an alternative interpretation of the A1-A2 hypothesis that explains softer stools from A1 protein may be due to gut inflammation. However, during the trial, a measure for gut inflammation found no significant difference between A1 and A2. In summary, leading health and nutrition associations, including the Dietitians Association of Australia, Food Standards Australia, New Zealand, and the European Food Safety Authority, have reviewed the evidence linking A1 beta-casein protein and human health outcomes. All authorities have stated that there is insufficient evidence to support the A1-A2 hypothesis. How has the A2 milk company won consumer trust despite insufficient evidence to support the A1-A2 hypothesis? The A2 milk company has built its brand through marketing strategies that target consumers and health professionals. The A2 milk company targets consumers with branded testimonials and builds a health halo for their products to also attract health-seeking consumers who do not have an issue with milk. The A2 milk company also targets health professionals, including medical doctors and dietitians, to gain health legitimacy. Quoting directly from the A2 milk company's 2015 investor information, healthcare professional programs are a key way of introducing A2 milk company branded products to consumers. So finally, is there any harm in A2 milk? Well, perhaps not directly, because nutritionally A2 milk is no different to regular milk. However, the A2 milk company is essentially introducing a new cost in the production and sale of milk, There is also the potential for products that wear a health halo to give consumers the false impression of making a healthy choice while diverting time and money away from important evidence-based health initiatives. That's all for this week. Check out the show notes at Skeptic Zone for links to this story. Until next time, bye for now from Mandy-Lee Noble.
And now, direct from the cafe at Australia's Science Channel, it's Brew Ha Ha with Ben Lewis.
US scientists have gone rogue, 140 characters at a time. They were ordered by the government to stop tweeting some valid, factual scientific information from official accounts. But they've fought back, setting up new, unofficial accounts to keep that science coming. So now you can space out with @NASA or get rebellious with @RogueNASA. And if you want to check in with your favourite American national park, you're not just stuck with @National Park Service. You can also follow @AltUSNatParkSer. And you know what? We're with them, because talking about science is really important. That's why we're here, that's why you're here too. Just ignoring scientific issues like climate change isn't going to make them go away. It can feel like every day science plays a bigger and bigger role in our lives. So every day it's more and more important to keep up the conversation and understand what's happening all around us. And to those scientists using their genius to get around gag orders, who are on the side of open information and transparency, well, we support you and applaud you. Because science stories aren't just fun and fascinating, they need to be told. #science. Here's a joke. What do you get when you put together a bird and a human? Honey! Yeah, okay, that's not actually a joke, but it is a thing. Honeyguide birds and humans in Mozambique have a pretty sweet relationship. Humans make a call which attracts the birds, who then guide the person to a beehive. The human then cracks open the beehive to get the honey, and the bird feasts on the other contents. The birds aren't trained to do this. From farmyards to backyards, there are plenty of times we've trained animals to help us, but very rarely do we form a relationship with a wild animal where the benefits go both ways. And I like to think of birds as dinosaurs in disguise, so it's kind of like teaming up with T-Rex. It's a whole new pecking order.
For more Brew Ha Ha and Australian science, head for www.australiascience.tv.
From the dawn of time, one podcast has unlocked the secrets of science and technology to enrich the lives of billions. And now, after a year where they've unlocked the golden age of knowledge, they're about to hit warp speed and go stratospheric.
Wait, hold up.
On Oh No, Ross and Carrie, we don't make extraordinary claims, we investigate them.
We go undercover with fringe religious groups, investigate paranormal claims, and we participate in pseudoscientific medical treatments and then report our findings to you.
And yes, we've even investigated Scientology.
Shh, Ross, shh. New episodes every month at MaximumFun.org.
Oh No, Ross and Carrie. They show up so you don't have to.
From the website of Australian Skeptics, australianskeptics.com.au, published on the 6th of February by Tim Mendham. Chiro Group distances itself from anti-vaxxers. The Chiropractors Association of Australia, the largest professional group for chiropractors in the country, has come down against the Australian Vaccination-sceptics Network for linking itself to the Chiropractors Association of Australia, or CAA. It has also made the point that immunisation is, quote, outside the scope of practice for chiropractors, end quote. This is an interesting admission, as there are many members of the CAA who were, or still are, supporters of the anti-vaccination movement and who readily give advice on vaccination, usually in the negative. In a statement released today, the CAA says, quote, "It has come to our attention that the Australian Vaccination-Sceptics Network contains a link to the CAA national website. We have requested that they remove this link to our website as a matter of urgency. The Chiropractors Association of Australia does not support the views promoted by the Australian Vaccination-Sceptics Network. We have also informed them that the CAA has adopted the following policy on immunisation. The CAA supports the Australian government's view that immunisation is an important health care initiative. It is outside the scope of practice for chiropractors. When considering immunisation, parents should consult either with their GP or maternal and child health nurse for further information." End quote. It goes on to say that, quote, "When providing chiropractic care to infants and young children, practitioners must have a good understanding of the principles of public health care, including disease prevention and health promotion." End quote. The practice of chiropractic treatment of infants and young children has been highly criticised by the Royal Australian College of General Practitioners, Australian Skeptics and others, with the Chiropractic Board of Australia, the group that oversees the profession, banning one chiropractor, Ian Rossborough, from treating infants and performing spinal manipulative therapy on patients aged between 2 and 6 years. This followed outrage over a video Rossborough posted on YouTube showing him cracking the spine of a newborn baby. And that comes to us from the website of Australian Skeptics. And I would add to that it would be very good to see the Chiropractors Association of Australia make a policy announcement to their members that if they are to treat children in any way, then those members should themselves be up to date on their vaccinations for especially pertussis whooping cough. I wonder how that would go down with their general membership. I wonder. And while we are looking at that, the website of Australian Skeptics, let's look at another article just posted on the 6th of February, also by Tim Mendham. Researchers warn of the dire effects of herbal remedies. Medical herbs, herbal products, portrayed as softer and more natural alternatives to prescription medication, can have, quote, dire effects, end quote, on users, including acute hepatic and renal failure, exacerbation of pre-existing conditions and diseases, and even death. These are the worrying results presented in a paper by 4 Australian university researchers published recently in the Medical Journal of Australia. Titled, quote, "What risks do herbal products pose to the Australian community?" End quote. The paper says that an estimated 70 to 80% of the world's population use non-Western medicine in the form of herbal preparations for their primary health care. The proportion of the Australian population using herbal products as mono or ancillary therapy increased from 48% in 1996 to 69% in 2005. With spending on complementary medicine increasing by more than 100% between 1996 and 2004. Similar increases have been reported in many Western countries. In the United States, spending on herbal preparations doubled between 1997 and 2007. The predominant user group of complementary medicines in Australia comprises younger women under 35 years old with a tertiary education. People with chronic diseases or comorbidities such as cancer, diabetes, musculoskeletal disorders or mental issues frequently use complementary medicines. A study of 10,011 Australian women aged between 59 and 64 years found that 39% of those with menopausal symptoms consulted complementary medicine practitioners and that 75% used self-prescribed complementary therapies. 53% of 1,037 people with HIV attending specialist clinics also used complementary medicines, and as many as 65% of Australian people with cancer in 2010 used some form of complementary medicine, more than half of whom did so in combination with conventional therapy. Quote, despite these trends, end quote, the authorities say, quote, there have been few recent investigations of the specific problems associated with the use of herbal medicines, and assessments of their safety rely on older studies. Some traditional herbal preparations contain heavy metals and toxic chemicals, as well as naturally occurring organic toxins. While many may have been safe, it is worrying that the specific effects and harmful interactions of a number of their components with prescription medications is not well understood. The content and quality of herbal preparations are not tightly controlled, with some ingredients either not listed or their concentrations recorded inaccurately on websites or labels. Herbal products may also include illegal ingredients such as ephedra, European wild ginger, and endangered animal species such as snow leopard. An additional problem is augmentation with prescription medicines to enhance the apparent effectiveness of a preparation. Toxic substances may also be deliberately or inadvertently added. Less expensive, more harmful plants may be substituted for more expensive ingredients, and processing may not be adequate. The lack of regulation and monitoring of traditional herbal preparations in Australia and other Western countries means that their contribution to illness and death is unknown. We need to raise awareness of these problems with healthcare practitioners and with the general public." End quote. Sadly, this comes as no surprise to the Australian skeptics and other skeptics around the world, I'm sure, as we've known for a long time that many of these remedies coming out of, mostly China, I would suggest, but many other places too, aren't regulated. We don't know what's in them exactly. And, the romance attached to them gets a lot of people in the logical fallacy of the natural. It's natural, it must be good. It's ancient, it must be good. The appeal to ancient wisdom, or as it's known, the appeal to antiquity. This has been used for thousands of years, therefore it must be good. This is from another more enlightened spiritual culture, therefore it must be good. But of course, a market is a market, and if people can cheat and cut corners, sometimes they do, sadly. And what people get in their herbal preparations is proving, in some cases, not to be what they expected to get, if indeed it ever worked in the first place. So that's a very interesting story, one for us to keep an eye on. Again, for your reference, head to skeptics.com.au, the website of Australian Skeptics. Lots more information there. And as we mentioned from time to time, if you visit that website, you can help yourself to over 30 years, probably something like 35 years, of the Skeptic magazine, the journal from Australian Skeptics, in PDF form. There's a search option on the website too, and you can search through thousands and thousands of interviews and reports and analysis. But thank you to the editor of the Skeptic magazine, Tim Mendham, for compiling those two reports on chiropractic and herbal medicine.
Richard.
Oh, hi, Trish. Hi. Would you like a coffee?
Yeah, thanks. What are you working on?
I'm trying to come up with a new promo to play on the Skeptic Zone.
Who's it for?
The Good Thinking Society in the UK. You know, Michael Marshall, Simon Singh, Laura Thomas and that crowd.
Oh, yeah, I know them. Oh. They've been doing some great work investigating veterinary homeopathy.
Veterinary homeopathy? What, you sugar pills for cows?
I know, right? And also they're looking at some of the dodgy medical advice given by UK chiropractors.
Really? Okay, look, I'll mention all that in the promo. Now, their website is goodthinkingsociety.org.
And they've recently been reporting on the resurgence of faith healer Peter Popoff.
Peter Popoff? Great. Okay, look, thanks for that. It gives me something good to think about. On the evening of Saturday, the 11th of February 2017, I found myself with the Stranger Things Down Under Facebook group as we made our way to the Rocks here in Sydney, the historic area of Sydney. We were there for a ghost tour run by the good people at ghosttours.com.au to experience the chills. Well, we were hoping to experience the chills because it was very hot of the Sydney ghosts. Did we find any ghosts? Well, I don't want to disappoint you. What we did find was a wonderful evening out with lots of laughs and history. I'm speaking to you from the train station at Circular Quay. Circular Quay is the area in Sydney where the ferries leave from to go around the harbour past the Sydney Opera House. And today is apparently it's a record heatwave day for Sydney, some parts of it at least. And I can vouch for that. It's tremendously hot. And people are walking around looking a bit dazed, I must admit. Anyway, I've come downtown today to take part in the first event put together by Stranger Things Down Under, the new Facebook social group for skeptics and interested people in Sydney. And tonight we're doing the famous Rocks Ghost Tour. Despite the ridiculous temperature today, lots of people around this area. It's 6 o'clock in the evening. It's a very popular tourist destination, of course, and it's a Saturday. But you can see the shimmering heat haze, and everybody is dressed in as little as they can possibly get away with today. Well, of course, long-time listeners of the Skeptic Zone will remember our chief investigator at Australian Skeptics, Ian Bryce. Hello, Ian.
Oh, hello, Richard.
Hello. Now, we're walking along. We've just had a nice drink in the pub before the tour because it's so hot we all retreated and drowned our hot sorrows. But now we're walking down George Street, right at the Rocks here, very historic area of Sydney, to the ghost tour. Now, how many ghosts are you expecting to see tonight?
Oh, well, that's a bit of an unfair question for a skeptic. I'd like to see many.
That's a good answer. We'd like to see many. We would. The sun is just going down now, and thankfully it's cooled off a little bit.
Yes, it reached about 40 degrees today, I think, which is close to a record.
In some areas of Sydney it went to 45, yes. I think I heard.
I heard that. That's amazing.
Which for our American listeners is well over 100, 110 or something stupid like that. But there's a nice group of skeptics here from the Australian Skeptics Committee and some friends. And here we are walking down. We're just turning now, heading towards Cadman's Cottage, which is one of the very oldest buildings in Sydney, where the ghost tours start from. And, I'm here with actually one of the organisers of Stranger Things Down Under. It's Trish Han. Hello, Trish.
Hello, Richard.
Hello. You know Trish from the ad we do for the UK.
Sick of the sound of me, but my voice is burnt out because I spent
Trish.
all last night singing along to Guns N' Roses.
You went to Guns N' Roses?
Yes.
But you're the voice that says, would you like a coffee? Yeah, thanks.
Yes, indeed, that's me.
For Michael Marshall and his friends. So you're one of the organisers of Strange Things.
Yes.
What's the whole idea about this?
We're just getting out on the ground and just investigating, what's out and what's available to the public. So we're still kind of brainstorming what our first few ideas are going to be. This is quite a good one to start with because this is very well organised by an outside company, so they can take us and show us what the deal is. We'll see how much woo there is and how much history there is.
And I would imagine the idea isn't to approach this as just, we're skeptics, meh. It's just to have a nice social night out.
Have a nice social night out and see what it's all about. I mean, I normally probably wouldn't come along to something like this, but with a group of friends, so I know we can have a bit of a laugh about it afterwards. Perfect.
Absolutely, I totally agree. Well, Trish, I think that's good thinking.
Absolutely, yes, very good, very good. Ouch.
We're here for a ghost tour in the name of Bushel.
Those ghosty things. It's Alethea Dean. Hello, Alethea.
Hi, Richard.
Now,
ready for some spooky action from close up?
From close up. I hope so. Now, listeners may well remember Alethea because we did a ghost tour a couple of years ago at the Fields of Mars Cemetery with Maynard, didn't we?
That was a ghost hunt.
Oh, I'm sorry, a hunt. Yes, we're hunting ghosts. Yes. And I thought you did very well.
Yes, I don't know. I didn't find any.
But, I mean, you coped very well, I should say that.
Yeah, we coped very well with the Ouija board.
And the spirit box?
And the spirit box, yeah, I forgot about that.
It was great fun, though, wasn't it? It was really an enjoyable night.
Tonight's going to be a bit more passive, though, I think. So we're going to be taken on a ghost tour by a guide and given some good spooky yarns, I hope.
And I've just noticed that our guide tonight is a good old friend of mine, Rowan Greaves, who I've known for many years, and who's sure to give us a wonderful evening and wonderful ghost tour.
I'm looking forward to it, and looking forward to something chilling, which would make a difference from the...
Look, we all need a good chill down the spine tonight, don't we?
Definitely. 40-degree heat in Sydney right now.
So if you have you go across here and there and right in there, that would be lovely. Terrific. And now that we have everyone in, I'll ask you to turn off your torches for a moment. I'll give myself a bit of the old mood lighting. And for once we can actually put a face to the ghost we believe is in residence. So without shining this in anyone's eyes, you can see that's already playing.
The tour is well underway. We're in Cadman's Cottage, one of the oldest buildings, or the oldest building in New South Wales. And people are wandering around with torches trying to inspect the historic relics here. It is a bit spooky, I must admit. A little bit eerie. Our chief investigator's got lost in the chimney. Did you find it?
Some spiders in there.
No ghosts?
Oh, well, I think there was. Yeah.
The ghost of Santa Claus.
The ghost of Santa Claus.
I'm not thinking on the
Who's going in the fireplace?
And we'll just walk outside now. Apart from anything else, I must say that these ghost tours often give you an excellent opportunity to look at historic bits of Sydney or any city. It's quite fascinating. We'll come back out now. It's a fascinating place indeed.
The Coxswain's cottage. In all the madness, he escaped the group. He broke into the Coxswain's cottage. He was hiding in the fireplace. He was cowering in there. That's where he was arrested and taken to Sydney jail, where he spent 3 months until he was taken to Hangman's Hill, where he'd truly paid for his crime. Now, many people have claimed to have it's like a bit of a young youngest sort of thing. But let's once again, 3 good steps. Right, so, big loud voice on the count of 3 from everyone. So ring the bell first. And 1, 2, 3.
Bring out your dead! Bring out your dead! We're inside the haunted room, Jessica.
I don't feel anything. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no. I feel warm. It's warm in here.
Yeah, it is warm. Yeah. It's a very warm night to be walking around and someone's just turned the light on and off to give us a scare.
And it did work. People reacted. I was hoping for a cold shiver down the spine tonight.
We need it.
And I will ask you for attention if that's cool. And again, I'll just say that
we've come to the very top of this house of the rocks here. And most of the rooms are dark except when people turn on the lights.
Sure it's not? Up, not down. Unless the down's just been filled up.
And the skeptics are arguing about a hole in the wall. Is it a fireplace or is it not? Come through to another room. It's amazing that it's amazing that this house is here and basically unused.
Yeah, it's bigger than most apartments.
It's huge. It goes on.
Each room is bigger than every apartment I've ever lived in.
Would it still go up? Oh, no, it doesn't go up there. That's the
No, this is it.
Yeah. There's another room here.
Well, and what's that?
There's a working bathroom.
It's a similar arrangement.
Do you think it's a chimney?
It's got a big cockroach in the bottom.
A big cockroach? Oh, dear.
And then there's bathrooms.
I never knew this place was here. It's fascinating.
I think you were again, and in the words of Alfred Hitchcock, for any of you, like me, old enough to remember who that is, I Ghost Host Rowan. Now I just want to wish you all a very good evening. Good evening and thanks a lot. That's it. Thank you. So please, turn on your torches, have a good look around. I'll be up the top to eventually collect them and to lead you back towards where we started.
A big thank you to our ghost tour guide Rowan Greaves, who persevered with us through outrageous temperatures. We were all a sweaty mess during the whole tour. The temperature really didn't cool down, but Rowan Greaves, always the professional, carried on. And if you're tempted to do the ghost tour, just head for ghosttours.com.au to find out more information. But I would probably recommend you don't do the tour during a heat wave. I think the ghosts were probably on strike. They probably went down to the South Pole to join Paul Willis, in fact. I think that's where all the ghosts were. But no, a great night out, and I look forward to the next adventure with Stranger Things Down Under, and links to all of that in this week's show notes.
It never ends. A friend starts talking about his new Reiki master, and someone else just posted about another all-natural cancer cure that they don't want you to know about. As skeptics, we dedicate a lot of time trying to protect those around us, but there's a way that you can reach millions. Guerrilla Skepticism on Wikipedia is a group that is working to keep the best skeptical information at everyone's fingertips in all languages. Join us. Training is self-paced and fun, and we have our very own super secret Facebook group. You will be educating the world in your sleep. To find out more, email us at gsowteam@gmail.com. Guerrilla Skepticism. The time is now.
Music by bensound.com.
Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone. Well, tomorrow I'm jumping on a plane and heading down to Melbourne for a few days to see my old friend and UFO expert, Dr. Steve Roberts. It would be really nice to catch up with him and catch up with a few of my friends down there in Melbourne. And then I'll be spending a few days with my old friend Jim Wilshire. Now, Jim is the man who does the voiceover at the beginning of the Skeptic Zone. That's the voice you hear every week.
Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
A very dear old friend of mine, of course, and he was a very big radio star in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. And now he retired and lives on a farm, a really nice place to be in the Albury-Wodonga area. I hope the weather cools down a bit before then. So next week's show, I expect to have interviews with Steve Roberts and, well, who knows? Who knows what? Maybe we'll look for UFOs in the countryside. Until then, and I hope this hot weather goes away very quickly, this is Richard Saunders, melting from Sydney, Australia. You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for contacts, an archive of all episodes since 2008, and our online store. Please support the Skeptic Zone by following us on Twitter @SkepticZone, liking us on Facebook, and leaving a review on iTunes. You can also show your support by subscribing via PayPal for as little as 99 cents a week. The Skeptic Zone is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed on the Skeptic Zone are not necessarily those of Australian Skeptics Inc. or any other skeptical organisation. Hello, Richard Saunders here from the Skeptic Zone podcast. Listeners might well remember from time to time I complain about aircraft noise when I'm trying to record the show. Well, this morning I thought I'd get up nice and early and do a couple of reads and voiceovers for the show.
only to hear that a flock of rainbow lorikeets has taken up residency in the tree just outside the studio. Oh, the joys of nature.